The views and opinions of this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. There is substantial risk of loss in trading futures and options, which you should carefully consider prior to trading. Well, as we kicked off the Christmas holiday week, lo and behold, we kind of found some holiday type of trade action. A little bit of green scattered here and there, but largely we're getting into the holiday doldrum, so to speak, low volume, et cetera, et cetera. How are these markets looking as we close out the year? Plus, it was confirmed late Friday, early Saturday that the government would stay open, and it included some money for farmers, economic aid, disaster aid in there, and much more. Let's talk about the impacts of that on the market and just take a broad look at things. Joining us now with Nesvik Trading in Nashville, Tommy Grisafi is with us here on the show. Tommy, good to talk with you again, my friend. Hope all is well. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Jess. I'm just down the street from you now. So we don't have to just do this online. We could actually go do a little podcast live. Good to be here. Good to be in Nashville. Loving the first few weeks here at Nesvik. Liking the price action in the markets.
Yeah.
Liking that the farmers received money. But I think, Jesse, you and I should really sit down, have an adult conversation, say, what's this really mean? I mean, this influx of money, it's not like the government gives you the money and says you have to pay down debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
We joked about the new Denali or this or that in the videos we're seeing on TikTok. The money doesn't come with instructions on what to do with it. Is that right?
From what I understand, yes, it's more or less, and I know there's some breakdowns about how much folks will receive in terms of commodity, corn, soybeans, wheat, etc. And Tommy, I've seen a lot of comments on both sides of this. A lot of farm groups and others, and some farmers very happy, welcome to see the relief here for low commodity prices, $10 billion for that aspect. Others, though, saying they don't want the check, saying it's socialism, welfare for farmers, et cetera, et cetera. So contentious issue, I guess, from my perspective is, what does this do potentially to the markets and the rural ag economy? What do you think?
Well, it's an injection. It's definitely an injection. If you're a Iowa ag banker, you guys say this is going to help renew some operating. This is going to get people going. If you're extremely wealthy, if you own land, you're a successful farmer, you have multi-generational wealth, you're shaking your head going, I'm going to get a bunch of money. My neighbor's going to get a bunch of money. And it stops the farmer who, I don't know how to say this nicely, but it's okay to fail. And if someone's on the verge of failing, this will boost them up, pick them up, and let them run a little bit more. You should also help someone. Like if you're running a race, when someone's struggling, you should boost them up and help them up. But in the sense that as someone who trades markets and someone who helps people manage risk, this allows people who've made some serious mistakes, both financially and in marketing. This lets them, this is a get out of jail free card. Now, I have clients who own land, are great at producing bushels, are great at marketing, not because they work with me. These people were pretty doggone good at it before me. I hope to add value to them after. But then they get this check, they're in the bonus round. I think it'll drive up cash rents. I think if you're competing on a piece of ground or cash rent, you're going to see continued higher land prices. The wealthy will continue to be wealthy. And it's going to, for today, it helps a young farmer who's struggling. But down the road, it just kicks the can of something that was inevitably going to happen. And that is the weak are going to get eaten alive from the strong. And that's just something that happens in nature. And financially, we've all received money during the last 4 years of the administration for somehow, some way, everyone out there has received money. With that, we have a policy in America to produce high quality, affordable food. And this administration had run on the thoughts of what was one of the things, Jesse, that came up during the election? Prices of eggs are high, milk's high. I go to the store, whether it be Costco or Sam's Club or Walmart or Dollar Store, everything's expensive. If the farmer receives the subsidy, they are admitting, or have to admit, if not, they're going to learn from my opinion on this show, that lower prices are here to stay. This is an admission of defeat that the higher prices are no time coming anytime soon due to the burdensome supply. So American Farmer, this was your note, this was your email, this was your text. If you're going to continue to overproduce, which is code for being awesome, we're going to take care of you on the back end. But you're not going to have high prices. You're not going to have $7 corn and receive payments like this. You're receiving this payment because corn, wheat, beans are down. Also, and I swear I'll let you talk, there are people in the Carolinas, Florida, and everything else who desperately needed this money.
Mm-hmm.
There's no easy way to say you get it, you don't, you this, you that. So they give a lot to everybody, hoping to bring agriculture back up. It's a big check. The American farmer works hard. I hope they use it responsibly. Take this money and do some great things with it.
I was going to say, Tommy, to this point, two things in my mind here to what you said. Well, three, I'll say the disaster aid. Zero questions about that. I'm with you. Folks that have been impacted by hurricanes and more struggling, they need that. One has to wonder, though, that if this injection of money, you mentioned maybe cash rents going up, et cetera, what about the retailers? I would have to think, a fair amount of this money going to end up in the pocket of retailers going into 2025 as farmers figure out what products they're going to use on their acres and what crops they're going to plant in 2025. And then part B of my question here is, I think about the overall sticky inflation in our economy. Does this maybe add to inflation concerns in the ag economy sector, Tommy?
I don't think it's enough money to really have a inflation. Like, for example, say you receive this money and you want to buy a used piece of equipment. There's now plenty of equipment. We've had so many people, you're going to travel to Iowa here next few days, that so many people have been laid off in the great state of Iowa. That's very concerning. They're not giving this money to people laid off at certain ag places. They're giving this money to the people who produce the goods. Great point. Didn't think of it the way you did. I'm glad you brought it up. This would give someone the confidence to prepay and prepare for taxes. Let's prepay for seed. Let's prepay for fertilizer. We're going to farm again in 2025. We have this injection of cash. It's going to help tremendously. But if you're running a poor business, this is just making you think it's okay. 2026, 27, you're going to have the same problems over and over again. And as we have this new administration and our deficit absolutely exploding, I don't know how many times people can give away money like this. But I will say this to the American farmer. We write checks for Ukraine for 25, 50, 100 billion all the time. And so if you're someone who's out there working hard, paying taxes, and then they just send our money overseas, let's keep it internal. If someone's going to get a nice tip, we hope it's our favorite, person involved in. And so it's really great for the rural communities. But again, it's the money goes to the landowner and the farmer who farms this ground. It doesn't necessarily trickle to Main Street. So if I'm in Mayville, North Dakota, which you know exactly where that is, and all these farmers around Mayville receive this payment, I don't know that anyone goes to a hired staff or anything and says, hey, I just maxed out all three of my entities and got 250, 250, 250. Here's more money for you. It doesn't work that way. Like in the movie Wall Street, greed is good and people tend to be greedy. So a lot of the money will end up in just a few of the hands. I don't know that they then distribute it to down the ag pipeline.
And it could be interesting too, in the point of any money going to say retailers or whatever the case is. Thinking about that acre mix for 25, Tommy. I mean, you look at the price action corn versus soybeans. I look at it and I have to think that this favors corn more so than beans going into 2025 right now.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see this acreage debate and see what actually happens. Obviously, Mother Nature will have something to do with it. But the traveling, I've spent a lot of time, a lot of windshield time here the last few weeks, and everyone's buying corn seed, preparing to be a corn farmer. I mean, they're going to plant beans too, of course, but if they had to lean towards something, it's corn. Now, if we're going to plant a bunch of corn, does that mean we start hedging corn? That's interesting. Something we're really going to have to address in 2025 as that calendar changes. If we don't start to have a weather problem or see some really great demand, which we've had good demand, but if we don't see killer demand, these burdensome supplies are going to start to work against us. Once the market figures out that we're going to have a monster corn acre number, we could see corn D's 25 with a 3 in front of it. We're not that far away. We're like 435 D's corn upon recording this. We could easily be in the threes here within a few months in the new year.
Tommy Grisafi with Nesvik Trading in Nashville joining us here today on Market Talk. Tommy, as we look ahead to 2025, if you had one or two gifts for U.S. farmers and ranchers as they look at their risk management in the markets, et cetera, what would those be in your opinion? Of course, and I'll throw in the caveat, the risk of trading futures and options we know could be substantial, but just thinking about this through that risk management lens, I mean, if you had one or two gifts in mind for the new year, what would they be?
Reward those rallies. And I'm a futures and options broker. I'm someone who's on their way, one test away, qualified to sell crop insurance or LRP insurance. There's tools out there. Understand all the tools. The reason I'm setting up my own agency to get registered for insurance is if that's a tool, use it. I'm always concerned when I meet a farmer and they say, I don't understand how that works. Let myself or someone explain it to you. Turn your cash grain into money, and then you can more than welcome to buy calls or buy futures. You can own it on the board. This isn't snake oil. It's 2025. The calendar's changing. I have never once planted a crop, yet in my career I've traded hundreds of millions of bushels of corn and wheat and beans, and I've never planted a crop. So there's the physical side. That's what many of your viewers and listeners do. And then there's the paper side. In a world where Bitcoin just hit 100,000 per Bitcoin, and none of us have actually really seen a Bitcoin, we may want to spend a little bit more time learning about the paper side of it.
All right. On the flip side, as we go into 25, Tommy, is there a market, one or two, that concerns you? Obviously, I mentioned, soybeans prices have been struggling. Cotton's been volatile too lately. I mean, corn's held up fairly well. But I guess looking across the ags, is there a market, one or two, that concerns you more than others going into 25?
I mean, the easy guess is soybeans just because the balance sheet's so big, but that'll fix itself during planting. I mean, if soybeans have an 8 handle and corn still has a 4 handle, 6-9 months from now, we'll have a different scenario where corn will be much cheaper and beans will come up, right? I don't see anything as scary as just the overall high cost production. As you work with these spreadsheets or everything else, or if I get to peek into looking at cost production with growers, we can't make their cost production go down because we ran their numbers on a spreadsheet. So keep an eye on your cost. I think that is what's going to hurt us, that many farmers say, hey, I'm going in 2025 looking at losses. I guess my advice to you would be, why don't you pencil out worst case scenarios, and then everything else from there gets better. Once we come in the new year, we're going to establish that crop insurance price where the government gets involved as we get that FEB average. Then it becomes a little easier to monitor the risk. Take some time, do the hard math, get uncomfortable, say how bad could it get in 2025, and then work your way out from there. That's my advice, Jess.
How about the livestock folks? It's been a better year for them, especially on the cattle side. I mean, as we close out one year and go to the next, any thoughts over in the protein sector, Tommy?
Depending on where you are on that cattle side, whether you're cow calf or, if you're just someone who likes to go out and buy cattle and finish them, you are buying really expensive cattle. If you got the whole, 20, 30, 40 years of being in the business, that's different when you own the livestock. But if you just go out and buy animals and then need that market to rally to sell them at a profit, that's a dangerous math. So the stakes are high. We're dealing in double the dollars we were using a few years ago in the cattle market. One benefit they have is affordable meal, corn, etc. The feeds are cheap. If you're in the cattle or hog industry, look at where hogs were 1 year ago today. Everyone says, oh, hogs are up 20-some% on the year. Yeah, that's because last December it was a train wreck, right? So the hog market's come back, but don't lose track of that feed. Maybe if December 25 corn gets into the lower 4s or upper 3s, you might want to lock in some of that feed exposure, or at least use some risk management tools to have your upside back on those feeds on the livestock. One other point to livestock, guys, and I'm glad you brought it up. You see the Federal Reserve is cutting rates, but real interest rates have not went down. And that's an extremely dangerous scenario. The Fed has cut rates. That's the Fed funds. But the 10-year rate last week shot up to 4.6. Watch your operating notes. Get debt paid off. If you're blessed to receive this government money, pay down debt. Stop paying interest. Start earning interest. Jess.
Good thoughts. Tommy, before we close it out, I want to give you a chance here. Tell folks about your new role there at Nesvik Trading, how they can get in touch with you, et cetera, et cetera. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, thanks. I still maintain the website AgBull, www.agbull. That's where we'll be releasing videos like this and podcasting. I left a QR code on there, has all my new information on there. I'm in Nashville all the time. I've moved to Nashville, and the Nesvik Trading office is there in Nashville and Memphis. Enjoyed working with that group. And I've had the benefit to do more media, like with you and our good friends. We have a strong partnership with RFD TV. And I'm a pretty easy guy to get a hold of. Google my name. You'll find me. Hit the website, hit Nesvik's website, whatever you need to do. But don't be afraid to ask help. I got to tell you, Jess, I don't know where this person found my number, if it was a website, but I had someone from Canada reach out to me today. They asked me a really hard question. I don't know the answers, but just the fact they reached out and they said, if the dollar goes to 120, what will that do for my canola? I already got confused thinking about it, but I love that they're asking for help and they're thinking outside the box. Ask for help in 2025, whether it's me or anyone else. Thanks, Jess.
You bet. Agbull.com again for more information and how to get a hold of Tommy Grisafi with Nesvik Trading. Tommy, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you and yours, my friend. We'll talk to you in 2025.
We'll see you soon.
Make sure to subscribe to the Market Talk YouTube channel. There, you can watch our latest interviews with the top market analysts in the country, find bonus content, and much more. Just go to youtube.com/markettalkag and hit the subscribe button, or you can search for Market Talk Ag on YouTube.